The Apocalypse DLC is out on the CTE currently for testing, and I think I'm going to go ahead and put it out there and say that these maps definitely need work. Passchendaele, the Somme, and Caporetto have their own individual problems that need addressing. But before I start, I like to say that this is an early build of these maps, and since that they're on the CTE, they are still subject to change. All three of these maps, with slight changes made to them, could actually come out really well for their final release. First up, we have Passchendaele. In my opinion, it's the strongest of the three maps. Using regular conquest and an insane amount of cover density, this map is an infantry player's paradise and really captures the essence of World War I. Not a lot is wrong with this map except when it comes to the spawn traps. I felt that the British had a major advantage when they capture all of the objectives, and unlike the other maps where you can flank and break out of spawn traps, that's just certainly not the case on this map. The British can see directly into the German spawn, and the poor German soldiers don't even last a minute after spawning. Something needs to be looked at and changed to avoid this from happening when it comes to retail or in an updated build on the CTE. I also think that tanks on this map aren't really needed. The infantry combat is great on this map, and tanks just take away from that experience. Due to the map being more close range and an increase in the number of assaults, tanks just don't last very long. I think they should be removed from this map and make it solely for infantry play. As I said, Passchendaele is a great map when both teams are evenly matched, but these little blights just make this map's fun factor go all the way down to 0. Secondly, we have Caporetto. I was originally super excited for this map, and I still kind of am. Caporetto uses the Conquest Assault game mode, so the defending Italians start off with all the points captured. The Austro-Hungarians have to descend from the mountains and just become easy pickings for any competent defending soldier. Most of the time I spent was just farming kills from the mountain and any dropping players that escaped from the plains above. I think there's a simple fix to this, and that being removing Conquest Assault entirely. Regular Conquest would give the Austro-Hungarians a better fighting chance against the Italians instead of the setup that we have now. Also, the Liven's projector is on this map as well. You can shell the majority of the map in gas every once in a while to completely suppress your enemies. I honestly have no idea why DICE decided to add this, and players already dislike gas grenades within Battlefield 1, and I think adding this just adds to the annoyance factor of this map in terms of gameplay. I could do without this little gadget, and I think many players will agree as well. A little bug to say here, the sky becomes a little warped in the middle of the map. But, as a whole, once the Austro-Hungarians do break out of their spawn, the map becomes very enjoyable. Although I am a little disappointed that you can't fight on the Isonzo River itself with the boats, as seen in the early concept art for Battlefield 1. Last but not least, we have the iconic River Somme. I just have to say that I am very pleased that I get to experience the Somme within Battlefield 1. So what's wrong with it? Well, as you can see, this map is severely sparse on the cover. There are a few trenches here and there, but those end up being farmed by the landships in choke points and by mortars. The wheat fields along this map offer some visual cover for any prone players, but this isn't enough as surprisingly wheat fields don't stop bullets or 3D spotting. More solid cover between flags to break the lines of sight would be much appreciated. More trench networks, explosion craters, and some more deeper natural grooves in the land would help to improve the flow on this map. With the Germans being at the disadvantage of not having any tanks, I think more field cannons throughout the map would be good as well. I'd say this is the most underwhelming map in the play session so far, and once the British team reaches C and B, they just farm the Germans spawning from the rear flags, fighting an uphill battle without a lot of cover. However, just like the Germans, the British also feel the pain of being spawn trapped as well. With even less cover than the Germans, a poor British team can't even reach the first objective despite having 2 tanks in their arsenal. There isn't a lot you can do to balance and add cover along an open plain like the Somme, so I imagine this is a little difficult on DICE's part, so all we can do is hope for the best. At the end of the day, these maps are on the CTE for testing and feedback for DICE to collect. I filled out the appropriate surveys and left a link to the Reddit post in the description below for you to fill in those surveys as well. Any feedback is good feedback, but you just have to communicate it properly. These surveys allow you to have your voice heard. The state of these maps definitely need another pass in terms of balance, so any suggestions bug reports, and the such would help to improve this DLC immensely. DICE does listen to the feedback we give, as seen with Turning Tides, so let's do the same with Apocalypse. I see potential in these maps, and this DLC could end up being my favorite in terms of the maps themselves. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I'd appreciate it if you would share this video to gain as much exposure as possible to increase the possibility of having these changes implemented. Leave your thoughts on these maps in the comment section down below, and as always, it's been BloodHound, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.